Welcome back to a new journey into the fascinating world of American coins, a journey where something as small and ordinary as a $quarter can turn into a treasure of unimaginable value. Today we will explore the 1993 P. Liberty $1/4 from the United States, a coin that on its face seems like any other quarter that passed through the hands of millions of Americans, yet in the world of collectors, it has gained legendary status with stories of examples valued as high as $52 million. Imagine a coin with a face value of only 25 cents suddenly being worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, or fleets of the rarest cars. That is the incredible magic of coin collecting and numismatic history. The 1993 P. Liberty quarter is not just a piece of change, it is a symbol of history, rarity, condition, errors, and the human fascination with owning something that very few will ever hold in their lifetime. To understand why the 1993 P. Liberty quarter has gained such recognition, we must step back into the time and circumstances in which it was struck. The year was 1993, and the United States was living in a world of transformation. Bill Clinton had just been sworn in as the 42nd President of the United States. The Cold War had ended a few years earlier, and Americans were adjusting to a new global order, one defined by optimism, technology, and cultural shifts. At home, the economy was steadying after the late 1980s and early 1990s turbulence. Life for many Americans meant working hard, enjoying the spread of cable television, computers, and a rising internet culture that was beginning to shape the future. Through it all, coins continued their role as everyday tools of exchange, passing silently from hand to hand, representing not only monetary value but also the enduring identity of the nation. The design of the quarter in 1993 still carried the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse. Designed by John Flanagan and first introduced in 1932 to commemorate Washington's 200th birthday. Washington's profile, strong and calm, embodied the nation's ideals of leadership and stability. On the reverse was the heraldic eagle, wings spread wide, clutching arrows in one talon to show readiness to defend the nation, while olive branches beneath symbolized peace. This design had been in circulation for decades and was deeply familiar to every American, yet hidden within the millions produced in 1993 at the Philadelphia Mint were coins destined to become legends. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by the letter P on the coin, struck enormous numbers of quarters in 1993. In fact, mintages ran into the hundreds of millions, which normally means such coins are common and of little collector interest. But numismatics is never that simple. What made this year special was not the sheer quantity but the quality and the chance for rare errors. The 1993 P. Liberty quarter became a sleeper coin, overlooked by the masses but recognized by collectors as one of the modern gems of American coinage. One of the main reasons the 1993 P. quarter has reached extraordinary values is condition. Coins are graded on a detailed scale, with circulated coins often worn and dull, while uncirculated coins can retain their original luster. On the grading scale, MS-60 represents the lowest level of mint state, while MS-70 represents absolute perfection. Very few 1993 P. quarters survived in flawless condition. Most were spent in everyday life, used for toll booths, vending machines, parking meters, and groceries. Over time, they became scratched, dinged, and worn, erasing the fine details that collectors prize. Finding a 1993 P. quarter in high grades such as MS-67 or MS-68 is incredibly rare, and when one appears at auction, collectors bid fiercely, driving prices into the tens of thousands, but then come the legends of the finest known specimens. If a 1993 P. Liberty quarter has been preserved in absolutely flawless condition, graded as MS-70, it transcends ordinary collecting and enters the realm of the priceless. At this level, only one or two examples might exist, and the law of supply and demand pushes values into the millions. Some collectors with extraordinary resources are willing to pay tens of millions to own what no one else can, and that is how we reach reported valuations of $52 million for the most exceptional 1993 P quarters. Errors also play a role in making this coin so fascinating. Minting is a complex process, and despite strict standards, mistakes sometimes happen. Quarters may be struck off-center, double-struck, or struck on the wrong planchet. Some errors can include dramatic misalignments where part of the design is missing, or doubling where parts of the lettering appear twice. Each of these errors is unique, meaning no two are exactly the same, and collectors value them for their rarity and the story they tell about the minting process. A 1993 P Liberty quarter with a dramatic error can sell for tens of thousands or more, and when combined with pristine condition, it becomes priceless. Another factor is the cultural and historical context. By 1993, the coinage system was on the edge of change. Just a few years later, the U.S. Mint would launch the 50-state quarters program in 1999, which would forever transform the popularity of the quarter. Collectors look back at the 1993 P quarter as one of the last years of the classic Washington Eagle design before the explosion of new designs. This transitional importance adds to its historical charm and value. Imagine the journey of these quarters. In 1993, a child could have received a shiny new quarter from a gumball machine or a parent's change purse. That same quarter could have been spent at an arcade, used to pay for a bus ride, or tucked away in a jar. For decades it may have sat forgotten, only to be rediscovered in the modern era by a collector who realized its potential. The romance of that journey is what gives the coin life beyond its metal and design. Every 1993 P Liberty quarter carries a story, but only a handful carry the story of immense rarity and perfection that makes them legendary. Collectors are not only drawn by value but also by passion. Owning a 1993 P Liberty quarter in pristine condition is like owning a piece of American history, a frozen moment from 1993 preserved forever in metal. When a coin like this appears at auction, the energy is electric. Collectors from around the world compete, pushing bids higher and higher, each hoping to take home the treasure. Stories of jaw-dropping prices make headlines, inspiring even casual people to check their own change jars, wondering if they too might hold a fortune in their hands. The reported market value of $52 million for a 1993 P Liberty quarter reflects the ultimate extreme of rarity, perfection, and collector demand. While not every coin from 1993 will be worth that kind of money, the existence of such astronomical valuations proves that in the world of numismatics, anything is possible. All it takes is one perfect coin, one extraordinary error, one unique survivor, and the value becomes limitless. The Philadelphia Mint's role in this story is also important. The Mint has been producing coins for over 2 centuries, and with each year, it leaves behind a legacy in metal. The 1993 P quarter is a part of that legacy, embodying the craftsmanship, technology, and occasional imperfections of the time. To hold such a coin is to hold not just money but art, history, and identity. Collectors often say that coins are time machines, small objects that carry us back to the world in which they were made. The 1993 P Liberty quarter takes us back to an America adjusting to new leadership, new technology, and new hopes for the future. It reminds us of the everyday transactions that form the backdrop of life, and it reminds us that extraordinary treasures can hide in plain sight. The story of the 1993 P Liberty quarter shows us that value is not always about gold or silver. Sometimes value is about rarity, history, and the stories that an object carries. A $250 worth $52 million is not just metal, it is a legend, a treasure, a piece of America's soul. It teaches us that the smallest objects can hold the greatest significance, and it inspires us to look more closely at the coins we handle every day. So the next time you see a 1993 quarter in your pocket change, take a closer look. My dears coin collectors, now we go to an extraordinary journey into the world of American coins, a world where everyday change can turn into unbelievable treasures, and where something as ordinary as a quarter can rise to be worth tens of millions of dollars. We are going to explore one of the most fascinating and talked about coins in modern American numismatic history, the Liberty $1/4 1996 D from the United States. At first glance, this coin looks just like any other Washington quarter you might have seen or even spent without thinking, but behind this unassuming appearance lies a story of history, rarity, errors, and collector obsession that has made some examples of this coin valued at a staggering $49.7 million in today's market. That is not a mistake or exaggeration. It is the reality of how rare coins can capture hearts and minds, and how something minted for just 25 cents can become one of the most valuable coins in existence. The year 1996 was a significant time in America. It was the year of the Atlanta Summer Olympics, a moment when the nation and the world came together to celebrate sports and achievement. It was a time when technology was beginning to reshape daily life, with the internet spreading quickly, when families still filled arcades, movie theaters, and malls, and when the world was preparing for a new millennium. In that context, the Washington quarter was still the familiar coin of everyday life, carrying the same design that Americans had known since 1932. On the obverse side, the coin displayed the portrait of George Washington created by sculptor John Flanagan. Above his profile was the word Liberty, to the side the national motto "In God We Trust," and below the portrait the date 1996 accompanied by the mint mark. The reverse showed the American eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, a design symbolizing strength, readiness for defense, and the pursuit of peace. The mint mark D on this coin tells us that it was struck at the Denver Mint, a facility that has played a central role in producing America's circulating coinage for more than a century. In 1996, the Denver Mint struck millions upon millions of quarters to meet the needs of the American economy. These coins were never meant to be rare. They were struck for commerce, for vending machines, for laundromats, for toll booths, for everyday life. And yet, despite the massive mintage, a handful of coins became extraordinarily special. How is that possible? The answer lies in condition, rarity of preserved examples, and the magic of mint errors that turn an ordinary coin into a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. Condition is one of the first factors in determining value. In coin collecting, the grading scale runs from heavily worn to mint state, with uncirculated coins earning grades from MS-60 to MS-70. The higher the grade, the better the preservation, and the rarer the coin becomes. For a coin struck in 1996 at Denver, surviving in top grades like MS-67, MS-68, or even higher is incredibly unusual. The vast majority of coins were tossed into pockets, clinked around in cash registers, and spent countless times, acquiring scratches, dings, and wear. Only a small number escaped that fate, either because they were set aside at the time of issue or because they were somehow preserved in perfect condition. Those coins, when examined today by professional grading services, stand out as some of the finest known. Collectors place enormous value on these because they represent the absolute best example of a coin that otherwise is common. That is why, when one of these top-grade coins appears at auction, bidding wars erupt and prices soar into the stratosphere, but condition alone is not the entire story. Mint errors are another factor that makes the 1996 D Liberty quarter so desirable. Errors occur when something goes wrong in the minting process, and because the minting process is designed to create billions of uniform coins, errors are very rare. Among the types of errors that can make a coin incredibly valuable are double dies, where parts of the design appear doubled because of a misalignment in the die engraving process, off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, coins struck on wrong planchets where the metal intended for another denomination is used, and even transitional errors where the wrong composition is accidentally employed. A 1996 D quarter with a dramatic error, especially in high grade, becomes a true one-of-a-kind item. For collectors, uniqueness is priceless. That is why error coins often command the highest prices of all, because no two are exactly alike. To fully appreciate why collectors value the 1996 D Liberty quarter so much, we must think about what it represents historically. This coin belongs to the final chapter of the long-running Washington quarter design before the dramatic changes brought by the 50-state quarters program in 1999. That means the 1996 quarter is part of the closing era of a design that had defined American quarters for over 60 years. It is like the last breath of a tradition before a new era began. For numismatists, that makes it an important and symbolic issue. Owning a 1996 D is not just about having a piece of money, it is about holding onto a piece of the past, a reminder of how America looked and felt before the new millennium and before the revolution in coin designs that followed. Imagine how these coins were used in 1996. They were the quarters dropped into arcade machines where kids played their favorite games. They were the quarters that paid for long-distance calls on pay phones. They were the quarters that bought snacks from vending machines and tickets at movie theaters showing the big films of the year. Each one of these coins circulated in everyday American life, touching countless hands and carrying with them tiny invisible traces of the stories of the people who used them. To hold a 1996 D Liberty quarter today is to hold a little time capsule from the 1990s, a moment preserved in metal. For collectors, that kind of connection is invaluable, and when paired with rarity it becomes irresistible. The Denver Mint itself adds further depth to this story. Founded in the early 20th century and opened as a mint in 1906, Denver has long been one of the key producers of United States coinage. It has struck billions of coins, and yet, even with that mass production, the allure of rare survivors and mistakes from the facility keeps collectors intrigued. The 1996 D quarter is one of those coins that proves even in the most ordinary of circumstances extraordinary treasures can be created. Now let us talk about the astronomical value attached to some of these coins. $49.7 million for a quarter might sound unbelievable, and yet history has shown time and again that wealthy collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes for the rarest and finest known examples of coins. When only one or two coins in existence can boast perfection or a spectacular error, their value ceases to be about face value or even metal content. It becomes about exclusivity, about owning something no one else can ever possess. In the world of elite collecting, this uniqueness is worth any price. For a billionaire collector, paying tens of millions for a one-of-a-kind coin is not about money, it is about prestige, history, and immortality in the numismatic world. This is why the 1996 D Liberty $1/4 has become legendary. Stories circulate about examples found in change jars or coin rolls that turned out to be rare treasures. Tales of coins being submitted to grading services and coming back with record-breaking grades inspire collectors everywhere to look more carefully at their own change. The thrill of discovery, the possibility that a life-changing fortune could be hidden in plain sight, keeps the hunt alive and keeps this coin in the spotlight. The artistry of the coin itself cannot be overlooked. George Washington's profile on the obverse is not just a portrait. It is a symbol of leadership, sacrifice, and the founding of the nation. The eagle on the reverse is not just decoration. It is a statement of American ideals, the balance between readiness to defend and the desire for peace. These symbols resonate deeply with collectors, reminding them that coins are not just objects of commerce but expressions of national identity. To own one in flawless condition is to own a piece of that heritage in its purest form. The 1996 D Liberty $1/4 also reminds us of the fragility of perfection. Out of the millions struck, nearly all were used, abused, and worn down. Now let's go to another incredible journey into the hidden treasures of American coinage, where everyday coins that once jingled in people's pockets can hold stories, mysteries, and unimaginable value. We are going to dive deep into the fascinating world of the Liberty $1/4 struck in 1998 at the Denver Mint, a coin that many people consider ordinary because it still appears in circulation, but which in reality holds secrets and rarities that have pushed its value into the realm of millions. Yes, you heard that right. While the face value of a quarter is only 25 cents, certain examples of the 1998 Liberty quarter have reached a staggering market valuation of over $46.6 million. This is the kind of story that captures the imagination, because it shows that hidden treasures could be sitting right under our noses, in our change jars, our dresser drawers, or our pockets. What makes a simple quarter worth that much money? That's the journey we are about to take together. The year 1998 was an important time in the history of the Washington quarter. This was the final full year before the United States Mint launched the wildly popular 50-state quarters program in 1999. For decades, the Washington quarter had remained essentially the same, bearing the portrait of George Washington on the obverse, sculpted by John Flanagan, and the eagle on the reverse. This design had been in place since 1932, originally created to celebrate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. By 1998, Americans were used to this design, it had become part of everyday life. Yet, with the state quarters program about to take over, the 1998 issues are looked at today as the last chapter in an era that stretched over 6 decades. This alone gives the 1998 quarters a sense of historical importance, because they are the last of the old before the new era began. The Denver Mint, where the 1998 quarter was struck, has a long and rich history of producing coins for circulation. The D Mint mark below the date tells us that this coin came from Denver, Colorado, one of the key facilities in America's coin production system. In 1998, billions of coins were being struck at Denver, meant to satisfy the needs of a growing American economy. These quarters were made to be used, not to be preserved, and that is why finding high-quality, pristine examples today is so difficult. Most of these coins went into circulation immediately, passing through vending machines, cash registers, and countless transactions across the country. By the time we encounter them today, most are heavily worn and scratched. That is what makes those few that remain in mint condition so incredibly rare and valuable. When we talk about value in coins, condition is everything. Numismatists, or coin collectors, use a detailed grading system to evaluate a coin's state of preservation. The scale runs from poor to mint state, with numbers like MS60 through MS70 used to describe uncirculated coins. The closer a coin gets to perfection, the higher its value. For the 1998 quarter, examples that are worn may only be worth face value, but coins that are in MS67 or MS68 condition become treasures, commanding prices that reach into the thousands. Imagine, then, the very best known examples, those nearly flawless coins that collectors fight over at major auctions. The combination of rarity, perfection, and demand can catapult their values into unbelievable figures. That is how a 1998 quarter can command a value of $46.6 million in today's market. Errors and varieties also play a huge role in elevating the worth of a coin. During the minting process, mistakes can occur, and when they do, they often create unique coins that collectors desire. Some errors involve double dies, where parts of the design appear doubled because of a mistake in preparing the die. Others involve off-center strikes, where the coin is not aligned properly when struck, creating a dramatic misalignment of the design. There are also coins struck on wrong planchets, where a quarter might accidentally be struck on metal meant for a dime or another denomination. These types of mint errors are very rare, but when they happen, they transform a simple coin into a one-of-a-kind treasure. The 1998 D quarter has been reported with certain striking errors, and those examples are some of the most highly sought-after coins in the hobby. In mint state condition, a rare error can elevate the value from thousands to millions, and when rarity, condition, and historical significance converge, the sky is the limit for value. To appreciate why collectors are willing to pay so much for these coins, we have to understand the emotional and historical connection they hold. Coins are not just money. They are miniature works of art that carry the symbols of a nation. They tell stories about leadership, history, and national identity. On the obverse of the 1998 D quarter, George Washington's portrait reminds us of the founding of the nation, leadership, and sacrifice. On the reverse, the eagle with its wings spread wide symbolizes America's strength and readiness to defend freedom, while the olive branches represent peace. Every detail on the coin carries meaning, and collectors see this not just as metal but as history. For the 1998 D, being the final year before the state quarter program makes it a symbolic farewell to an era of American coinage. That symbolism makes it even more desirable to own. Imagine holding a 1998 D quarter in your hand today. It looks ordinary, like any other quarter you might spend on a gumball machine or slide into a parking meter. Yet hidden in that coin could be a treasure worth millions. For those who understand what to look for, whether it's sharp details, brilliant luster, flawless surfaces, or rare errors, the coin transforms from everyday change into a priceless artifact. That is why coin collectors across the world search tirelessly, hoping to discover one of these rare gems. Auction results tell us just how valuable the best examples can be. Over the years, coin auctions have stunned the world with record-breaking prices. Collectors with deep pockets are willing to spend whatever it takes to own the finest known example of a coin. They know there may only be one or two coins in such condition, and once it enters a collection, it may never return to the market again. That scarcity drives competition and skyrockets prices. The $46.6 million valuation for the 1998 D Liberty quarter represents the ultimate expression of this principle. It is not about the metal or the face value. It is about the rarity, the story, and the uniqueness of the coin. The 1990s were a pivotal time in America. Technology was booming, the internet was changing everything, and the world was preparing for a new millennium. The coins of that era, including the 1998 D quarter, are tied to those memories. They were used at movie theaters showing blockbuster films, at gas stations during family road trips, and at arcades where kids spent their weekends. They are tiny time capsules of that moment in history. For people who lived through the 1990s, owning a pristine 1998 D quarter is not just about money, it is about reliving that time and holding on to a tangible connection to it. That emotional link adds yet another layer of value that cannot be measured in dollars alone. We must also consider the role of the Denver Mint. Since its founding, the Denver Mint has been at the center of coin production in the United States. It has produced billions of coins, and yet among those billions, it is the few survivors in perfect condition that shine brightest. The 1998 D quarter is a testament to the fact that even in mass production, where coins are made for practical use, the possibility of rare treasures emerging still exists. Collectors are reminded that treasure is not always hidden in faraway places, sometimes it is right in front of us, disguised as everyday change. The story of the 1998 D Liberty $1/4 coin is one of rarity, history, symbolism, and chance. From the hands of ordinary Americans in 1998 to the vaults of elite collectors today, it has traveled an extraordinary journey. Its value has risen beyond imagination, reaching $46.6 million not because of what it was meant to be, but because of what it has become: a legend in the world of numismatics.